This is round 2 of the South African National Rally Championship. It's the Sasol Rally, brought to you by Sasol Energy in partnership with Dunlop, Ford Performance, Toyota and Volkswagen, where the buzz of S2000 and S1600 rally cars cut the idyllic silence of York Timber's Sabi forests. 2016 marked the 25th anniversary of the Sasol Rally, and dry and dusty forestry roads set the scene with perfect rally conditions for drivers and spectators alike. The first order of business for the weekend was scrutineering. Every car was checked to ensure it complied with all safety and technical rules. Driver and co-driver safety is paramount, and the role of scrutineers is key to ensure no shortcuts are taken at the expense of safety. With the technical checks out of the way, it was time to hit the roads for a shakedown. Sabi is known in rallying circles for producing some of the wettest events on the National Rally Championship calendar, so it was with a mixture of trepidation and enthusiasm that the drivers took to the bone-dry forestry roads within the York Timbers plantations. Keen to lay down a marker for the weekend, the race favourites Leroy Poulter and Elvin Coetzee, driving the Toyota Gazoo Racing Yaris, looked to be the car to beat. While in the S1600 class, Guy Bottrell and Simon Vasey-Lyle were flying in their Toyota Etios R2. Friday morning presented rally fans with the opportunity to share in the nervous pre-rally energy of their heroes before the ceremonial start. As Christopher Kabosha explains, Sasol has an illustrious history with rallying and the community in Sabi.
It's been incredible. It's been a momentous occasion, 25 years in the rally. And it also means that it's been 25 years that the rally has offered us the platform to demonstrate the premium products that Sasol sells. The fuels and the lubricants is testament to our turbo fuels, diesel and other products that Sasol is known for in the market. So we're really appreciative of that, and we think that the rally has done that extremely well for us. It also marks 25 years of Sasol's involvement in the community. For the last 25 years, we've engaged with the community in Mpumalanga and the province, and along the way, we've invested in various programs around education and community development. So again, that's been an excellent participation for us, and we've really enjoyed, and we've seen the benefits of that investment.
First off the ceremonial start line from the Sabi main road was Janelle de Villiers, followed by the Vecto Toyota Yaris, piloted by Ernie van der Walt and Greg Godrich, as they headed towards the Olifantsgeraamte stage. It proved a stern test of man and machine. The surfaces made for fast racing, but the margin for error was minute. Suspension setup was key, as Janelle de Villiers explained.
We did some work on the suspension side, and I think we've made some improvements. So, you know, it's always good to make an improvement. So we're ready for the rally, and you know, it's always a tough rally. This 2 days of very difficult stages, and some places really rough, and you cannot afford to make a mistake here. So it's going to be a testing 2 days, but we're ready for it.
Stage 1 went largely to plan for de Villiers, despite losing 4.8 seconds to Leroy Poulter. Ernie van der Walt and Greg Godrich weren't so lucky. In fact, they were fortunate to walk away unharmed from their spectacular incident.
We were really keen for the stage, and I felt good about the stage because it was yesterday's shakedown stage, and I was optimistic and everything, so we started quick, and the plan was to finish also quick, but it didn't. Yeah, so we started keen, and I went through the corner and max left 2, almost flat, and I went through a corner, and as we hit the bump, the car just unsettled, and I hit the second bump, and then I went into the trees. So yeah, that's the short and the long of the story.
The crash put the Vecto car out of the rally and illustrated how tough the Sasol Rally can be. Day 1 has always been considered the fast day, but proved it was not without challenges.
Day 1 is really fast, so we make the car really handle in the high-speed stuff, and then in day 2 it's a little bit tighter and a lot of jumps, so we got to change the setup to ride the jumps, so it just changes each day a little bit.
Poulter's smooth cornering style separated him from the chasing pack on a stage defined by long straights and hairpin bends.
Yeah, it was. We were fortunate to do a little bit of the shakedown of it yesterday, so we kind of knew what was going on, but it really went well for us. Really slippery in some areas, a little bit difficult to get used to it.
But get used to it he did, blazing the way through the narrow plantation roads. In the absence of defending series champion Marc Cronje, it was clear that the Toyota Gazoo teammates Poulter and de Villiers would be the main protagonists in the S2000 class. Could promising young driver Wilro Dippenaar prove to be the man to challenge them as the series progresses?
Stage 1 in the beginning it was fine, we enjoyed it, starting to get into the rhythm, and then the end of stage 1 there's a mud hole that we hit quite hard. So after that we didn't do a bad time, but we would have been trying to go fast.
Dippenaar already seems to know when to push and when to drive conservatively, waiting for a mistake from the leaders.
Yeah, no, Leader and Gendil is quite fast, so I think catching them, you'll never know, but I think it's on this moment they're too far ahead.
Another leading young light is the S1600 Ford Fiesta driver Richard Leek. Unfortunately for Leek and his co-driver Henry Kierner, they got caught in Don Smith and Bob Kuagi's dust on stage 1, losing valuable time.
Yeah, no, we're happy. Just wasn't the start we really wanted. We got stuck behind the Subaru about 8 k's into the stage, so we got stuck behind the dust and overshot and nearly rolled and jumped. So yeah, we're not too happy about that. The stages, yeah, the first stage wasn't too technical. It's very hard, so you can brake very late. But when we go into the mountains, it's very tight, quick, in-twos and stuff, so that's very technical. I wanted to go flat, but the navigator, we were calling notes, I had to trust him, but we couldn't hardly see 5 meters in front of the car, so have to trust the navigator.
Leek's mistake dropped him behind the Manito Volkswagen Polo of Paulus Franken and Pierre Aries, and the Lake Muzi Polo of Arce Potgieter and Tommy du Toit in the S1600 class. But ahead of them all, and looking to chase down the 2 litres rather than fearing a charge from his fellow S1600s, was Guy Bottrell, putting on a show for the rally fans in his Yatu Toyota Etios. Bottrell would go on to top the timesheets in the S1600 class in 10 of the 14 Sasol Rally stages, bettering the times of many a driver in more powerful cars. Stage 2 saw the rally move into the plantations on the slopes of the Driekop Mountains. Leading the timesheets were the Toyota Gazoo racing duo of Poulter and de Villiers, with Poulter extending his lead over his Factory Works teammate to 9.7 seconds. The closest challenge to the Toyotas again came from Wilro Dippenaar, who managed to hold the gap to the flying Poulter to under 20 seconds on the stage. In the S1600 class, Guy Bottrell showed his talent, extending his lead by a further 6 seconds on the hard-charging Richard Leek. Looking to make up for his mistake on stage 1, Leek went flat out on stage 2, knocking off his deficit to Paulus Franken and Arce Potgieter in the Volkswagen Polos in the process. Leek's storming drive put him in second position in the S1600 class at the end of stage 2, but there was little he could do to match the speed of Bottrell.
Being the first two-wheel drive car on the road is always difficult because the four-wheel drive cars dig up the road and they pull rocks into the road. So the first two-wheel drive car always takes a pounding with rocks and punctures. So we have to keep an eye out for that. And also going up the mountain passes with only front-wheel drive, the four-wheel drives have got a huge advantage. And just in general, four-wheel drive cars have got a lot more grip and they can get on the accelerator earlier and have more power, and also they've got more grip to pull the car around the corner.
Making up for the power and grip differences between the S2000 and S1600 cars with driver skill is no easy feat. It's a trick that's been rarely performed in the National Rally Championship, and it just goes to show the skill of the Yatu pairing that they managed to do just that on a tough stage. Heading into stage 3, the scene was set for an upset. Could Bottrell reel in the two cars separating him from an overall podium? The third stage featured a 28.6 kilometre course with constant changes in gradient deep in the Grootfontein forests. The tight switchbacks between contours snaking either down to the valley floor or up to the mountain peaks suited the 4x4 S2000. One only had to watch the ease with which they drifted around the hairpin bends before getting back onto the power and accelerating into the next straight to realise the magnitude of the task ahead of Guy Bottrell. Poulter claimed a hard-fought 16 seconds on his teammate de Villiers. The smooth driving Poulter more than doubled his advantage then on stage 3, taking his overall lead to 24.8 seconds. Behind the Gazoo Racing battle for top spot, Dippenaar and Naidu extended their hold on third over Joubert to 2 minutes and 49 seconds when they drifted to 1 minute off the overall race lead. In the S1600 class, the cut-up hairpins were playing havoc with the smaller vehicle's ability to maintain speed through the corners. Bottrell was making the best of the difficult situation, extending his lead over Leek, while Leek put a further 36 seconds into his closest competitor for second in the class, RC Potgieter, who finished fourth on the stage behind Paulus Franken. For stage 4, it was back to the Driekop route. Duplicating the stage meant a second opportunity to perfectly execute the plans in the racebook and improve on stage 2 times, a feat which Carolyn Swan, Henry Kierner and Elvin Kutsia helped their drivers achieve.
Yeah, the Sasol Rally, it's been good marketing from their side, and the York Timbers has always provided good roads for us. So it's a driver and navigator favourite as well as a spectator favourite because you can see a lot of the roads.
I think apart from the impact it has in our town and the community, it also brings a specific sports talent, to Sabi, and it is something that's very close to us. Is the skill side of it, the adventure side of life. And we provided opportunity for these drivers and their sponsors to come to our valley and explore their skills.
Stage 4 saw Janelle de Villiers reduce the deficit to Leroy Poulter by taking the stage victory by 10 seconds with a storming drive. Poulter, for his part, also bettered his time from stage 2 but couldn't match de Villiers' ferocious pace. Behind them in third was Dippenaar, again losing ground to the powerful Toyotas. In the S1600 class, Leek had beaten Bottrell and claimed the stage victory. Bottrell was followed in by Andrew Heine and Lloyd Brady in their Volkswagen Polo for their first top 3 stage finish of the weekend. Stage 5 saw the drivers return to the route through the Grootfontein plantation, which they'd raced for stage 3. The Toyota Gazoo team did not emerge unscathed despite claiming the first 2 positions. Poulter suffered a handbrake problem, while de Villiers was on course to reduce Poulter's lead when his front diff threatened to be problematic. Behind the S2000s, the leading S1600 was once again the Ford Fiesta of Richard Leek, who held off Guy Bottrell for the second stage in a row. In third, a ding-dong battle was emerging in which RC Potgieter claimed stage 5 honours. With the cars limited to just 30 minutes in the Dunlop service zone, the Toyota technicians had a race against the clock on their hands. They had to replace de Villiers' gearbox before facing penalties.
We basically changed the gearbox now. Janelle had a problem from the previous stage, so we changed the gearbox in 29 minutes, which is quite fast for. Normally it takes about 35 to 40 minutes to do that.
Yeah, it was pretty nice day for us, quite fast, especially stages 2 and 3. We just picked up a front diff problem, and we had to do the last 2 stages now with the front diff making a big noise, so it was not the best.
As the sun set on Sabi, the teams and spectators made their way from the York Timbers plantations to the heart of the town for the thrilling Tar Town Stage. The compact 910-metre stage through the CBD of Sabi made for spectacular entertainment. And the fans didn't disappoint the drivers either. They came out in their droves to gather along the barricades and cheer on the racing. After 5 stages on the shifting gravel roads, the Sasol Rally drivers put on a show for the cheering fans on the tarmac. Squealing tyres, handbrake turns and near misses with the bollards were illuminated by streetlights, the powerful rally car headlights and the constant flicker of cell phone cameras capturing every moment for posterity.
Tonight it's the highlight of Sabi for years and years. Everybody waits for this date so that they can come and spectate and see how the car's racing, and they really love it, and it's the highlight of this town for the year.
The best thing you can do legally on a Friday evening.
The tight corners gave the classic cars a chance to shine too, and equal hoots of encouragement greeted Roelof Coetzee in his Ford Escort and Janelle de Villiers in his Toyota Yaris. Stage honours were claimed by Leroy Poulter and Guy Bottrell as they raced to victories in the S2000 and S1600 classes respectively. Day 2 started with 2 super special stages of head-to-head racing in Nelspruit's well-known Spaghetti Junction. Before the racing got underway, the drivers performed a stage walk to familiarise themselves with the route. The head-to-head races pitted pairs against each other based on their overnight standings. The most hotly contested challenges of the morning were between the Toyota Gazoo racing teammates. They competed with tyre-shredding aggression around the course and each claimed a victory by the narrowest of margins. With stages 6, 7, 8 and 9 taking place on the tar, team technicians had to change the setup of the cars to provide maximum grip for the vastly different surface after the loose gravel stages.
Yeah, the setup is very different when you're coming to the tar. I mean, yesterday we were running the gravel stages, and your shock settings and the anti-roll bar of the car needs to change when you come onto the tar, because the car needs to have a bit more play to get that much more grip in the corners on the tarmac. So you find you come to the tar stages and you end up adjusting your shock settings and making them a bit softer so that the car can lean more into the corners and you can get that much quicker through the corners.
With the cars dialed in for tarmac, fans were once again treated to superb close quarters racing through the White River schools. Stage victory was claimed by Poulter in the S2000 class after another storming drive. While in the S1600 class, Richard Leake held off Ashley Haig-Smith by 0.3 of a second and Guy Bottrell by 0.4. Haig-Smith was back under Super Rally regulations, which allowed him to compete in Day 2 even after having crashed on Day 1. The Ford Fiesta driver's pace is undeniable. If only he'd string it together for an entire rally, he'd be a force to be reckoned with.
We started off the season with quite a bang. We won the opening round and we were just trying to keep the momentum going forward. Sabi is always a difficult rally, really tough roads. It's quite rough for a 1600. But yeah, the car's definitely taken quite a hiding, but we find ourselves in 3rd place overall, which is quite remarkable with all the 2 litres and 4-wheel drives. And we're winning our class. Richard Leake is quite close behind us. He's going very well. Yeah, so we're under a bit of pressure to try and stay in 3rd place and keep Richard behind us and make sure we don't damage the car and get the car to the end. We've got 3 more stages to go and hopefully we can just hold on to our position.
After 4 short tar stages, it was back on the punishing gravel for stage 10. With the promise of more opportunities to make up time, the drivers are pushing harder than ever, and the reintroduction of those under Super Rally regulations also added spice to the mix. At the front, the Poulter de Villiers domination couldn't be shaken. Rejuvenated Luke Buerter, along with his co-driver in the 4-fuel Ford Fiesta, Jannie Lourens, were capitalising on Wilro Dippenaar's misfortune. Dippenaar's PZN panel beater's Ford Fiesta broke a rim during stage 10, meaning he and Kes Naidu were forced to change a tyre mid-stage, which cost them 10 minutes and 3rd position. In the S16 class, Paulus Franken looked to be gaining the upper hand on his fellow Volkswagens in the tight battle for 3rd. RC Potgieter had fallen to 4 minutes back, and only a minute separated Franken and Heine with 4 stages to race. Stages 11 and 12 were repeats of the same route through the York Timbers Magsley plantation. With the route looping in and out of the forest, returning time and again to spectator-friendly spots on the R37 between Sabi and Nelspruit, it was another fan's favourite stage. Everything didn't quite go according to plan for Janiel de Villiers though, who was chasing hard to close the gap to Leroy Poulter.
We were pushing, trying to push quite hard to, just to get closer to Leroy. This rally, anything can happen. We know there's lots of rocks and things in the road, and unfortunately we got a puncture with 5Ks into stage 11, and I had to drive 15Ks on the flat tyre. So, I just had to manage that. It was quite tricky. It was quite twisty in the end. Other than that, we had a pretty good day.
Such was the Toyota Gazoo Racing team's dominance that it was the only time during the Sasol Rally that the top 2 spots weren't occupied by the red and black cars. In the 1600 cars, Bottrell claimed both stages 11 and 12, with Franken and Leek each claiming a second, and Potgieter and the resurgent Haig Smith each claiming a third. As so many of the experienced drivers have warned, it's not over until you cross the finish line of stage 14 at the Sasol Rally. And sadly, young Richard Leek and his co-driver Henny Kierner discovered just that on stage 13. After 12 strong stage results for the ATS Ford Fiesta, they were in second position in the S1600 class and looking to exert pressure on Guy Bottrell on the last stage. But cresting the jump on the finish line, it all went horribly wrong. Leek and Kierner ended their rally sitting on the roof of their car, contemplating what might have been.
Basically came over the flying finish, over the jump. As we landed, the car just stepped a bit, hit the outside bank, started controlling it, hit another bump, and then it veered us off to the right. Went into the bushes. There was just a slight water drainage hill that just started flipping the car and then rolled down the hill.
The 14th and final stage was a giant slalom run of just 3.3 kilometres, allowing the drivers one last chance to showcase their amazing car control at close quarters to the crowds of Sabi. Despite it being the final stage, nobody was keen to take the pedal off the floor, and least of all Guy Bottrell and Simon Vasey-Lyle, who put on a great show. They launched their car over the bridge and landed with an almighty bang, but fortunately still managed to take their damaged Yatu Toyota Etios home to win the stage.
Well, we are really happy with third place overall. Everyone's been telling us that's history in the making there, so we're really happy that we did push hard in those last couple of stages to cement the third place. And then obviously the class win is fantastic for us too, going forward into the championship. We've got 2 wins in a row. The car took a bit of a beating with the rocks and everything that was going on in the event, so we've got a lot of work to do. We probably have to rebuild the whole car, but yeah, going forward we've got a jump start in everyone, 2 wins, and just try and keep the momentum going. We know we've got a lot of work to do to get to the next round, but we're going to do it and everyone's tails up and we're ready to go.
In the S2000 class, Leroy Poulter claimed the final stage for Toyota Gazoo Racing.
It's obviously a big one. I've won 2 of them before, and to win the 3rd time now, it's a big one. And on the 25th anniversary for Sasol Rally, it's really important to me and Alvin.
Leroy Poulter and Elvin Coetzee were deserved winners of the Sasol Rally, while Guy Bottrell and Simon Vasey-Lyle's superb effort saw them claim the S1600 class win and 3rd overall. Next up on the National Rally Championship calendar is the Secunda Rally. It brings the action quite close to Johannesburg and Pretoria and promises to be another exciting challenge for the teams. It takes place on the 21st and 22nd of May. Keep an eye on www.sarallying.co.za for details.